Hari Om. Today we will carry on from chapter 10, verse number 39, and we will complete chapter 10 today, hopefully. So, as you all recall, that from verse number 20 onwards, Sri Krishna has been giving a long list of his glories, of his manifestation, and the purpose of giving a list of these glories is to help us to fix our mind on Him in many ways. So, whichever examples we find which are close to our heart, we can choose some of these examples and use this to continuously fix our mind on the Lord. So, we don't have to wait until we are in the temple or in the altar just to remember the Lord. But anything in creation, anything glorious we see in creation also can remind us of the Lord. So, in today's verse, the Lord will conclude the long list of His glories, and He will say, "I am the very seed of this of the whole creation." So, since the Lord is the very seed of this creation, He is in everything in this creation, and therefore we can recognize His glory or His presence in this creation. So now let us see what the Lord says in verse number 39. He says, Cha means and, yat api. Yat api means whatsoever that exists as the effect in this creation. Lord is the cause and the creation is the effect. So Lord is saying whatever that exists as the effect in this creation, Aham, I, the Supreme Lord, am Sarva Bhutanam. Sarva meaning all, Bhutana means of all beings. The Lord says, I am the Bijam, the seed. Seed, Asmi, I am. So the Lord says, all the effects in this creation, there is only one material cause. That is the Lord Himself. Just as clay is the material cause of all the pots, just as wood is the material cause of all furniture, the Supreme Lord is the material cause of all the creation. Now, what is the relationship between cause and effect? The most important point you have to keep in mind, what is the relationship between a cause and the effect? And the answer is, the cause is always in the effect. Example, when we say gold is the cause of all ornaments, it means gold is in all the ornaments. When we say clay is the cause of all pots, it means clay is in all the pots. Therefore, if God is the cause of all creation, it means God is in the creation. The covering that we are experiencing is only the Nama Rupa. Nama Rupa means what we are seeing is only the name and the form, the different names and different forms of the creation. But the very existence or the very cause is the Lord. Just like a pot, no pots can exist without clay, no furniture can exist without wood, therefore nothing in creation can exist without the support of the Lord. But you must understand the difference is, Lord is Sat, the only independent existence in the creation. So Krishna says, I am the seed, the cause of the entire creation. Whatever glories exist in the creation, understand them to be my vibhutis, my manifestations only. And Ishvara is a very special seed which can never be destroyed. But the same seed keeps on giving life again and again for billions and billions of years. So the Lord says, whatever you see, I am in that. So His glory is in everything. Now, when the Lord says, I am present in the creation, in the entire creation, is the Supreme Being only present where we witness sentiency, where we see life, where we see movement? So the Lord says, Na tat bhutam asti. Na tat bhutam asti. There is nothing that exists, that is in the creation. Chara, that is moving. Acharam, that is non-moving. Yat, which Shyat can exist Vina, without Maya, without me. So Lord is saying that don't just think that my presence is only in things that are sentient. Even things which are insentient, also the Lord says, my presence is there. So what Krishna is concluding in this verse number 39 is saying that everything in creation, moving or non-moving, sentient or insentient, is existing because of my support only. Thus, the scriptures declare that Lord is omnipresent in all things, both sentient and insentient. So, what is the message here? Message is we can meditate on the existence of the Lord in both moving and non-moving things as He exists everywhere. So now we come to verse number 40. So there is no need for us to ask or get confused, where is God? If you want to, if you really understand, you can experience God in anything in the creation. Now, it is not that the glories that the Lord has given in verses 20 to 39, those are the only glories. So, what the Lord wants to say is that He has only given a list of His primary glories, okay, a sample of His glories. So the Lord mentions here in verse number 40, Na asti, there is no antaha, limit or end to mama, my divyanam, my divine vibhutinam, manifestations. The Lord says there is no end. My presence in this creation is infinite. I'm everywhere. There is no end to the list of my manifestations. Therefore, the list can go on. It is endless. So the Lord says, in this verse, He says, Esha, this Vistara, extension or list of my vibhutis, of my manifestations. Therefore the Lord says, Proktaha, I have spoken, I have revealed, Maya, by me, Udesataha, only partially. Since there is no end to the list of my manifestations, the Lord can go on and on. So the Lord says, I have only revealed a partial list of my glories in this creation. A few samples, right? So, therefore, what do? We've got about 70 over glories that the Lord has listed here. What do? So the Lord explains to us what we can do beyond this in verse number 41. He says in verse number 41, you can make your own list. You can make your own list. How? He gives us some guidelines in verse number 41. He says, yet, whichever Sattvam, entity. You experience whatever you see in this creation, which is endowed with vibhutim. Vibhutim here means majesty, which makes you wonderstruck. Anything that in this creation that you see that brings about joy and ecstasy, it can be the most minutest, just like a butterfly, or it can be a beautiful sunrise or sunset. Anything that is majestic, number one, vibhutim, or anything that is Shrimad. Shrimad here means that is praiseworthy. Wherever you see beauty, wherever you see goodness, okay, that is Shrimad, prosperity. So the word Shri itself means Lakshmi, Lakshmi Devi, which is something that is to be admired. Okay, so wherever you see that Shrimad, and the third example that Lord gives, or wherever you see Urjitam. Urjitam means wherever you see vibrancy, vitality. So under all these examples that Lord has given, whether you see anything that is Sattvam, which is Vibhutim, which is majestic, which is Srimad, which is shining with prosperity or glory, which is Urjitam, which is energetic, vibrant. The Lord says, Tat Tat Eva, all of them. Whatever you see that inspires you, that brings happiness in you, that brings joy in you, whatever you see, the Lord says. Now, this is a mark of actually a spiritually uplifted person. See, a spiritually uplifted person sees anything extraordinary. See, even within himself, if I find that people are praising me or I have some extraordinary talents, I recognize this as the very blessing, as the very glory of the Lord. So whatever glories you see in others, in the creation, whatever even glories that are in you, understand that they are all the blessings or the presence of the Lord. And this is the difference between a spiritually uplifted person and one who is not. So the Lord says, may you understand that whatever glories you experience in this creation are just a minute aspect of the total glories. Okay? So whatever you are experiencing, Lord says, this anything glorious, anything wondrous, anything vibrant, the Lord says, Avagacha. Avagacha means may you know, Twam you, may you know that His glories are only a amsa. Amsa means a fraction. Fraction of what? Sambhava, which is born out of my teja, my power. So anything that we see, let us not get carried away and think that we are so great, we are so glorious, we are so rich, we are so mighty, we are so powerful. All these things are the blessings of the Lord, and they are just a fraction of His power in this creation. So, the Lord is saying basically His power is infinite. The creation is only a very small portion of His infinite glories. And then we come to verse number 42, which is the concluding verse of chapter 10. In this verse, the Lord says, you can look at the whole creation now, understanding that whatever glories in this creation are only a fraction of the Lord's manifestation. So now we look at this creation, we can look at it in a very different perspective. How? Now, let's say, first we say that water is present in every bubble or in every wave whatever wave we see, we say water is present. That is one way of looking at water. Another way to look at this is not that water is in the wave, in the bubble, etc. Really speaking, all the bubbles, all the waves, their origin is water. They are all supported by water. So in reality, nothing exists except water. So instead of saying Ishvara is in this, Ishvara is in that, we can reverse the understanding by saying the whole creation is in Ishvara, it exists in Ishvara. So the Lord says here in verse number 42, Kim Tawa, what will you gain in Ch10, in understanding that Bahuna, this elaborate enumeration, Arjuna, that I am in the Ganga, I am in the mountain, I am in the sun. Instead of looking at the presence of the Lord in every individual aspect of the creation, the Lord says, Athava, you can look at it alternatively. In reality, everything exists in me. That this creation has in reality no existence, but the source of the existence is actually the Lord. In a way, like we say, all furniture actually is nothing but wood appearing in a different form. All ornaments are nothing but gold appearing in a different form. So ultimately, all ornaments are nothing but gold, all furniture is nothing but wood. So the Lord says that Aham, I, Stitaha, remain, Vistabhya, supporting Idam, this Krishnam Jagat. Krishnam Jagat means the entire creation. The entire creation is in me. The unmanifest part of Bhagwan, the effulgence, the Swarupa Jyoti is the very life essence of this entire manifested creation. So the Lord Himself is the source, the support, and the sustenance and the dissolution of this creation. So, in fact, it is mentioned in the chapter 15, verse 17. We will see that later on. The Lord uses the word Bibharati. Bibharati in chapter 15, verse 17. Bibharati means that which upholds, that which nourishes, right? So another example to look at this is first example in this creation. We can say that space is in the hall. Okay, we look at a hall, we say space is in the hall. Later we can understand, when we expand our understanding, that in reality all the halls exist in space, because space supports everything. Without space nothing can exist. So similarly, Ishvara is not in all living beings, but all living beings are in Ishvara. This is to understand the vastness of Bhagwan. The whole creation exists in Him. And He says here in this verse number 42, He says, Eka Amsena. This whole visible creation that we see is only Eka Amsena, is a mere portion of Bhagwan. Just like the examples given in the iceberg which is floating in the ocean, what we see is only 1/4 of the iceberg, 3/4 of it is below the ocean. In the same way, Bhagwan, what we are seeing in the creation is only a small portion of His totality. So, just like if we take a sip of the ocean, we can understand the whole ocean. But if you take a sip of the whole ocean, it's not that you have drunk all the water of the ocean, but you can understand the nature of the ocean. In the Rig Veda also, it is mentioned that in the Rig Veda, it is mentioned that all living things are a foot. Foot here means 1/4 of his, 1/4 of his immortal 3 feet or 3/4 are in the bright world. The word bright world means self-effulgence. Let me repeat that. Rig says all living things are a foot, meaning 1/4 of his. So whatever we see, whatever we experience is only 1/4 of the Lord. What about the 3/4? His immortal 3 feet or 3/4 are in the bright world, or they are the very self-effulgence. So this means that the whole visible manifest creation is only able to fill 1/4 of Bhagwan, whereas the remaining 3/4 of him are of self-effulgence. With this, Krishna concludes chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga, and the description of all his glories. So, what is the next thing we should remember before we go into chapter 11? So, in chapter 11, the difference between chapter 10 and chapter 11. In chapter 10, the Lord enumerated, he gave many examples of his glories. So that is said to be the audio version of the glories of the Lord. In chapter 11, Vishwarupa Darshanam, the Lord is going to reveal his glories. So that is the video version. And at the request of Arjuna, he is going to reveal these glories. Again, a long list of what we call manifestations of glories Arjuna will experience in chapter 11. So, keeping this in mind, understanding that chapter 10 is the audio enumeration of the glories, chapter 11 is the visual presentation of the glories of the Lord. So, we will stop here and with chapter 10, and when we resume the next lesson, we will carry on, or we will start with chapter 11. Hari Om Tat Sat.